Ladies and gentlemen, my name is C0ffeecast and I am back with yet another series between two really cool players. In this series, we are going to be featuring EmpireKas, who I just featured in EmpireKas vs. Mouse Mana, which I will not spoil for you. I will tell you that there are games to be played, and I casted them. But in this game, we will be seeing EmpireKas spawning as the teal Terran player over here on the right side of... What the hell did he just say? I have no idea what that said. I think... okay, I'm just going to go ahead and forgo that. We have EmpireKas spawning here on the right side of Terminus. And on the top side, we do have imbaBratok, who says gibberish. I think it's... I think he's Russian. Yeah, I think that's where he's from. I'm not sure at all. We do have imbaBratok spawning here on the top side. Oh, I did feature about a month back, maybe a little bit less, 2 or 3 weeks back, in a game versus White Raw, which is a very, very good best of 3 series between those players. And once again, not spoiling anything, but I will say that Bratok played very, very well against one of the best pro sauces out there. So I'm very interested to see what happens in this TvT matchup. I do not know much about TvT except that it is a game of chess. A lot of the time it comes down to Marine versus Tank and maybe a few Hellions mixed in to try to take care of the Marines. And whoever has more and whoever has the better positioning wins that match. So it is always actually very, very interesting to watch. And I'm really looking forward to see what happens here. I mean, just look at these timings here. Look at those timings. Those are like spot on with each other. If anything, Bratok is just a little bit ahead. And if I were to guess, I would give Bratok just a little bit of a lead in terms of who I would think will win the series. Bratok is a very, very good Terran player. And the reason a lot of people don't know about him, and actually Kas for that matter, is that they're both European players, a little bit less known in that right. But that's not a big deal because I can justify whatever. I can vouch for both of these players and say that they are very interesting to watch. We even had orbitals finishing up at the same time. It's going to be really interesting to see where the first deviation in these build orders are. We did have both players get one gas, get 1 Rax, make 1 Marine, 1 supply, everything right at the same time. There's our first difference. We do have a tech lab coming out of Bratok on his barracks, and in the meantime, we do have Kas going for yet another 1 Rax expand, which was his favorite in the previous series, and getting 1 bunker down on the low ground. And now Bratok himself is getting his expand, and yeah, that is exactly what we're seeing. We are having a Reaper come out for Bratok. That is a very, very unused unit by Terrans in pretty much every matchup. Occasionally you'll see 1 or 2 crazy Reapers come out and try to do a little bit of harassment. That is extraordinarily rare, and I would assume that this 1 Reaper is just going to be used for scouting purposes. Now, EmpireKas just now taking both of his gases. I suppose he didn't have a gas in the earlier game. EmpireKas just now taking both of his gases and adding on 2 additional barracks, as well as Bratok adding on 2 additional barracks. Has had 1 gas longer, but only has 1 gas now, and that will allow Kas to get a little bit ahead in that right. We are having combat shields come out for Bratok. Very, very popular once again in TvT. Marines, heavy Marine play in the early game. It's probably the favored build, and I would be very surprised if we don't see a factory coming out of one of these players shortly. This Reaper is now in the main base, just running around, scouting out what's going on. He does see this tech lab in the 3 barracks, and is going to be able to probably pick off 1 or 2 SCVs. Now, for those of you who didn't know, in Heart of the Swarm, once that does finally come out, the Reapers will no longer have their D8 charge. That is their building attack. That does a bunch of damage versus buildings. So that will be removed. However, they will have a passive health regeneration like Zerg units. So that sparked a little bit of debate whether or not that'll actually do anything at all for the Reaper. I will hold my personal reservations as to that to myself. We are seeing 2 more barracks with reactors now coming down. Those will be finished very shortly. So heavy Marine plane coming out of Bratok has combat shields already and is now getting stim pack. Meanwhile, down here, no combat shields for EmpireKas. However, he does have stim pack started just a little bit earlier. So if there's going to be some sort of timing push out of him, which I would kind of doubt with so few units. Well, actually, he does have quite a few Marines on the field. We could be seeing some sort of timing push. However, that would weaken them up quite a bit. And Braddock, just look at that map awareness, pulling that Marine back before it can get shot by EmpireKas' Marines on the high ground. Very, very good play by Braddock. Now we are seeing a factory come down for Braddock right next to this tech lab, so I would highly, highly assume that means that we'll be seeing some tanks come out of Braddock in this matchup. But once again, a lot of Marines on the field for EmpireKas right now. What is he spending his minerals on, do you ask? Well, we do have one reactor, a second one being made right now. His factory was a little bit earlier with a reactor on the factory, actually, but it looks like that is going to be for that starport. So it looks like we are going to be seeing a lot of biological play once again out of EmpireKas, just like we did see in his games versus Mao's Mana. And in the meantime, it looks like we are actually not going to be seeing tanks coming out of Braddock, but instead a reactor go down on his factory for the starport. Oh, that's right, we have to wait for Stimpak to finish up. So I would assume what's going to happen here is Stimpak's going to finish up about the same time this reactor is going to finish up, about the same time the starport is going to finish up, and all these buildings are going to have an orgy of lifting off and running through each other and trading upgrades. We do have weapons level 1 on the way for both these players. This is such an even game. I mean, both players do have slight deviations from one another's builds, but I mean, other than that, other than just those slight deviations, it's pretty much exactly the same. I mean, upgrade timings are the same, the stim timings are pretty much the same. Yeah, it's just, it's pretty intense to watch two high-level mirror matches. I guess saying a high-level mirror match can be pretty intense, except Zerg vs. Zerg, because I'd just rather watch rock, paper, scissors. However, that is the only matchup I have yet to cast, so I will probably actually get around to that sometime soon if I can find a good Zerg vs. Zerg. In the meantime, we do have 90 vs. 90 supply and a drop coming out of EmpireKas, but Braddock was completely ready for that, had Marines back to defend, but it doesn't look like Kos has completely abandoned his strategy yet, and instead just deciding to dump off in a different area. I do not know if Braddock can see that. We do have 4 Marines stimmed up trying to run and kill some SCVs, however, he will not get a single one. And now we do have a few Marines stimmed up trying to run up and take out that medevac, but no, they will not get that medevac, and it will get out safely. We are seeing a tank and siege tech on the way for EmpireKas. We do now have the switch off from all these buildings, so we do have 3 racks with reactors and a factory with the tech lab to get siege tanks eventually, as well as the starport getting at double medevac, which I will assume will change to double Viking production at some point in time, because you really need to, in Terran vs. Terran, one of the very, very important factors is the air control, because siege tanks cannot actually see as far as they can shoot. So you also need to win the air battle to be able to get the extra range over your opponent's siege tanks, and that is how you will win a lot of your engagements in Terran vs. Terran. So that is why, while it is important to have a couple of medevacs in your army, you need to have Vikings, because if if Kos, for instance, went Vikings versus Braddock's medevacs, it just would not work all that well. It looks like we will be having a drop from Braddock over here in the main, but there are tanks and a couple of Marines back to defend, and that will be cleaned up almost instantly by Kos. Very nice hold. But once again, if Kos was going to go Vikings versus Braddock's medevacs, Braddock would have absolutely no air control. Kos's tanks would outrange Braddock's tanks. All of Braddock's tanks and Marines would die to tank fire then, and Kos would take the game. So that is why you really need to keep air control in TvT and have tank control as well. Looks like Braddock will be taking out the back rocks to Kos's third base, which actually is already up and running. Just new up and running, however. I don't know if Kos actually spots this, however, as his army has not moved into position. Braddock does not want to fully commit to this, however. That would be very, very bad. A missile turret there, or supply depot, one of the two, does go down. It looks like Kos is pulling his entire army back, but it looks like we were going to be seeing a big engagement here, rather than one of the players falling back, but there is a siege tank right there to defend for EmpireKas, and that is immediately going to force a fallback for Braddock. No, Braddock is going to attempt to engage this, even though he lost a large amount of Marines, that initial tank fire and a large amount of Marine health as well, which put him at a severe deficit in that combat. I really do not like that decision making from Braddock to engage, but however, 116 to 117 supply, maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Braddock now taking a third base of his own and having quite the nice Marine tank force of his own back at his base. Kos pushing out across the map just a little bit, does, I believe, have the superior tank numbers. Indeed, he has 2 extra tanks and a few, but imbaBratok does have the marine advantage. However, I would take the tank advantage over a marine advantage any day in TvT. However, these tanks did just get on siege, so if these marines decide to stim forward, they could potentially take out a tank or two. A couple of siege tanks back. One siege tank does go down. A medevac does pick that siege tank up. A few of the marines were stimmed. However, they were going to be able to take out 2 siege tanks. That is definitely going to even up the tank numbers just a little bit. Getting a few free shots off, but needs to make sure not to engage right here, as there is a siege tank back prepared to defend, and now there are 3 siege tanks up and ready to fire when everything goes down. Looks like, however, we are going to be seeing a drop alternatively from imbaBratok, just pushing himself up into the corner right here, sieging up his tanks on the low ground. Very, very nice play by imbaBratok. These medevacs allow him to see the high ground, allows him to siege the main base of EmpireKas. EmpireKas, if he wants to try to engage, will have to walk straight into the tank fire, either on the high ground or the low ground. So what are we going to see coming out of EmpireKas? He does need to make it soon, as he just lost 3 supply depots, an extra tank, and pretty much anything that spawns out of these barracks is in range of these tanks. However, here's going to be the stim forward. A lot of the marines pushing up. Now the tanks focus firing the wrong tanks for just a moment there, are able to get a few very nice shots off before EmpireKas' tanks do get sieged up. A lot of damage being sustained by Kast in that battle, but once again, both players coming out almost extraordinarily even in that engagement. 111 to 113 supply. It is insane how even this game has been so far. It is blowing my mind. There's the repair on that barracks to make sure it does not burn down. These 2 players, I actually love TvT. A lot of people and players do not like it because of how long it can take. But once again, just the chess match idea of it. It can be such a close matchup decided by 1 tank volley. It's such a volatile matchup, and that's what I love about it. And yeah, we are seeing both players continue their tank production, continue their marine production. We have double tank coming out of both players, 10 marines at a time out of both players. 1-1 upgrades for imbaBratok, 1-2 upgrades for EmpireKas. So a little bit of an advantage does go to Kast in that right. However, double upgrades are coming out for imbaBratok, as well as vehicle weapons. So yeah, okay, there's double upgrades for Kast. Just such an even matchup. Tank sieging up just a little bit too late. I don't think imbaBratok should have sieged up in that instance, as there was a heavy marine advantage for EmpireKas. EmpireKas able to just push up and take out all the marines in the tank. And there was the first decidedly engagement. Oh gosh, I take that back. Both players ending up at exactly 139 supply, right as I was saying that was exactly even. So, my goodness, there's another little tip for a TvT matchup. Oh, it does look like there was a little bit of an attempt to drop by imbaBratok over there. I apologize for missing that. And 1 marine down here just got for a ninja expansion. There is a little bit of a hint for TvT. If you are engaging your opponent and you're trying to decide if neither player's tanks are sieged yet, look at the marine count. If you have the higher marine count, you are free to siege up your tanks and engage. If he has the higher marine count, I would highly recommend fallback. Now, I would expect to see a siege up right here. The siege coming a little bit late. He probably can siege a little bit earlier. Both players sieging at about the same time. A couple of very nice volleys going off. Kast and marines were more clumped up in that battle. However, Kast decidedly winning this battle. And now with 158 to 129 supply, a couple of siege tanks back here could use to be sieged up just in case Kast does decide to push up. But no, Kast instead taking the watchtower. That imbaBratok will be in the dark as to what exactly is going on. I'm surprised not to see a little bit more airplay. There are a lot of medevacs out. I would not be surprised at all to see a couple Vikings made for imbaBratok. However, a lot of the engagements have been decided by the fact that both armies are just pushing into each other rather than sieging up and slowly trying to push into the other player. So right now we're seeing a lot of marine charging, and there imbaBratok is going to lose so many marines in that engagement. I think he's going to lose all his marines and maybe even a medevac or two. Yes, 1 medevac goes down, another medevac as well. However, imbaBratok did have the pre-siege up. However, I don't think it's going to matter as there are too many T-tanks here for EmpireKas. And there's the GG from imbaBratok in game number 1 of this series. EmpireKas able to have the superior tank numbers and winning 1 engagement earlier right around here on the map. Really sealed the deal for him in this game, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Just that 1 engagement got him the lead. That, I mean, both these players have been extraordinarily close so far in this matchup. And finally, EmpireKas was able to win that 1 big engagement and was able to take the series away. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on the CoffeeCast. I will be right back with game number 2 in just a few moments, so don't go away. This is Coffee Break, signing out.